markets and secret bioexperiments scattered across the kingdom. It was enough to make Evan question everything he thought he understood about the world. Meanwhile, the young master simply grumbled about being tired, blissfully ignoring the chaos around him. Evan, curious as ever, wondered why the second child had been sent to the orphanage again. He sensed there was more behind the decision. The young master knew better than anyone that the second child was far from ordinary. In fact, he operated on an entirely different level. Within the United Kingdom, a federation of several nations, the central realm was the Kalium Kingdom, the birthplace of the second child rescued from the illegal slave market. This boy, better known as Dees McCallion, held a terrifying reputation. He was the second boss of psychedelia and had once embodied one of the 5 great sins, the sin of sloth. Sold into slavery and subjected to relentless abuse, Dees had risen from suffering to wreak havoc across the kingdom in ways that left even the most hardened players horrified. It was a cruel twist of fate. Though he bore the title of the slothful sin, Dees was paradoxically meticulous and diligent in repaying debts and wrongs, sometimes multiple times over. That was precisely why the young master had instructed Evan to treat him with the utmost care. Even recalling Dees's battles in the game made the young master shiver. When Evan asked why he had placed the second child in the orphanage instead of bringing him to the estate, the young master gave a measured response. The timing isn't right. Evan nodded knowingly, unsurprised. Then, with his usual curiosity, he asked whether the letter sent to Yudia had anything to do with the second child. The young master confirmed it. But the truth behind the letter was far more mundane. Inside, he had simply vented to Yudia about his older brother's bullying and instructed her to look after the second child, who was feeling a bit worn down. And to be fair, that wasn't far from the truth. Dees did indeed need time to rest, heal, and gather his strength. At the orphanage, Dees kept to himself, nursing a body marred by cuts and bruises. Yudia approached him, concern lacing her sharp voice. "Are you broken?" she asked, her eyes narrowing. Was this the work of the Black Goat? The very mention of that name caused a flicker of reaction in Dees. With her characteristic Yandra fervor, Yudia continued. She acknowledged that despite his injuries, he had been chosen. She spoke of the Blue Moon, the alias the young master had earned among their inner circle, and explained that under his guidance, an organization was forming. If Dees remained loyal and obeyed, he would eventually have his chance at revenge. Something stirred within him at her words. Magic, or perhaps the innate authority of the sin of sloth itself, began to awaken, resonating deep inside him. With that matter settled, Yudia excitedly prepared her first reply to the letter, practically trembling with anticipation. Meanwhile, back at the estate, the young master remained buried in the library, painstakingly researching ways to track down the third child. His concentration shattered when Evan burst through the door, panic written all over his face. "Sir, we're in serious trouble," Evan reported. "The second young master of the Palacio household, he's dead." Although the young master had anticipated this eventuality, the speed of events still caught him off guard. The funeral was arranged almost immediately. What shocked everyone far more, however, was the glaring absence of genuine mourning. Even their father attended as usual, flanked by 2 prostitutes. The display was so absurd that it left the young master momentarily speechless. Bringing drugs and women to your own son's funeral. That was crossing a line even for the Palacios. He had always known this family was dysfunctional. But this was something else entirely. Psychedelia, he mused, truly lived up to its reputation as a dark fantasy. Shaking his head, he moved on. He noticed that Tonio's supposed accidental death felt slightly off compared to how it had played out in the game. In the original storyline,